So I was up late last night doing work for work and us here at Review and Preview. And that annoying kid on the NYM news account that I don't like um, tweeted that the Mets signed shortstop Carlos Correa to a 12-year, $315 million deal. This is a week after agreeing to a larger contract with the San Francisco Giants. He failed a physical, unfortunately, that led to this. I don't know how the Mets were able to sign him like this. And, there's if he fails a physical here with the Mets, who knows if maybe this deal could fall through too. I'm not so sure. I mean, Steve Cohen continues to empty the bank this offseason. He spent over $800 million, James, before I absolutely rip this a new one. I want your opinion on this here. What do you think of this deal?
How do you sign somebody for 12 years and that much money and when he failed the physical already? Why don't you have him do the physical first? Make sure he's healthy enough to play. I also don't like the deal. 12 years? Come on. How many guys have we signed for plus or 12 years and that has this weird ass injury that the Mets somehow create and then he's out for half the year? Like he only plays like 8 years or 6 years and we pay him this boatload of money. I think Cohen is a spender, which us Met fans, it's about time to see. But I do think he's not looking at it from a baseball standpoint. This guy failed a physical, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, a week ago, whatever it was. It wasn't a very long time ago. And then they signed him to this massive contract. So either the physical was completely BS across the country, or they're like, well, I'll just sign him anyway, and when he gets healthy, he's on the team. We'll just rock and roll with him. I think Steve Cohen is spending the money in the wrong places. I think he really needs to work on this farm system a little bit instead of keep signing these big guys. I get it. You have bats now. You got other key players. But what happens when all these big names and big bats go into slumps? Team starts losing. And we're also signing a lot of older players. I don't forget his age.
He's 28.
28. All right, so he has a. So
but he's signed till he's 40.
He's signed till he's 40. So it's going to be a retirement home. That's why he's moving the fences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you're going to add more seats, which makes more money from my standpoint for what I do, but it's turning into a freaking retirement home. What are you going to do when he's not producing and you want to trade him? You let DeGrom walk and don't get nothing out of him. I mean, come on, man. Tom, I'll stop because I'm sure you got a lot more to rant.
Well, I actually want Noah to talk first because I'm still brewing here on this one.
Yeah, no, I'll let you stew and fester for a few more minutes while I kind of give my thoughts on this. First of all, I was very surprised when I saw the thing, he failed a physical. I was like, okay, you know what? No big deal. Probably, 2 or 3 days from now, it'll just be made official with the Giants. Just a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah.
And I wake up this morning and I see, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? He signed with the Mets. Interesting. In my opinion, as unbiased as possible, because obviously, I'm a big Mets hater. They live rent-free in my head and all that, but he is a good player. He's one of the best shortstops in the MLB. However, obviously, he's not probably going to be playing shortstop because they already have Lindor. They got to move somebody at third base. I would expect it to be Correa. But 12 years for a guy who's already 28. You have these long-term contracts. First of all, you got Verlander, who's 39, signed to 3 years, right, Tom? 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years. So he's going to his 42. You have 2 more years of Scherzer, who's like 38 and 39 as well. You signed Brandon Nimmo to 8 years to a very inflated contract, even though I think he's a very good player. That's going to take him into his late 30s. Obviously, you have this contract. You have the Lindor contract. They signed that Japanese kid as well, so we'll see how he does as well. But look, no excuses for Mets fans. Biggest payroll in the MLB, and it's not even close. Big spender. Steve Cohen has opened the pocketbook, which, some Mets fans would like. Some people would say he's misappropriating the money. But look, I'll just throw it out there right now, Tom. I'll throw you a bone here. The New York Mets will win the NL East this year. I think they are the favorites. However, I always got to say Mets are going to Met, so it's possible they could underachieve. But look, I will say this: throwing all your money at something, it doesn't automatically mean you're going to win a World Series. I think the Mets have handicapped themselves here to where they basically have gone all in. They have to win in the next 2 or 3 years, because if they don't, a lot of these, obviously the pitching is going to fall apart when Verlander and Scherzer leave. They're going to have these massive contracts for players that'll be getting up in age and eventually declining and that they can't get rid of. They have no farm system, by the way. Brett Baty is absolutely screwed over by this signing. Alvarez isn't going to play this year either because they signed Omar Narvaez. So say goodbye to the two prospects Mets fans were most excited to see. It's like poker. They went all in. They put all their chips in to win in the next 2 or 3 years. And if they don't, it's going to get bad really quick. So, yes, I think they'll be great to start. I'd even expect them to win their division, maybe go to a championship series or something like that. But realistically, the expectation, Tom, is World Series or bust.
Tom, before you go, I'm glad you brought up Baty. Actually, this past summer at my cousin's wedding, I had 2 other cousins that lived in Texas that know Baty, like really well, went to high school with him. I think they're not giving him a chance to show what he has. You're now transitioning our shortstop to third base. Yes, I know it's on the same side of the infield. Yes, it's probably not much different other than it's the hottest corner in the league. But why don't you just go after an actual third baseman? Why are you transitioning somebody over from what they've played for most of their life to a third baseman? It doesn't make sense in my eyes. Tom, now you can go.
All right. I'm going to put old St. Nick on for this. By the way, what's up, Hank? Appreciate the comment. All right. What the fuck is wrong with this team? I was happy when he signed with the Giants because I'm like, oh, it's not us. But once he failed the physical, I had a feeling Steve Cohen was going to pull a rabbit out of his ass. And James, to elaborate on your point, I just don't think he knows the baseball business. He doesn't know how to build a team from scratch. It's all about buying. He's going to spend all his money, and it doesn't work more often than not. The Mets have trapped themselves in a 2 to 3 year window. Yes, Noah?
I just want to, at one point I forgot to bring up the top 2 payrolls in the league last year, Tom, the Dodgers and Mets, and neither of them even won a playoff series. Go ahead.
The Mets are trying to be the Dodgers, but they're not. The Dodgers did it their way a little bit better. What happens to Brett Baty? I know he can play the outfield. What's he going to do? Rotate and platoon with Mark Canha? That's not going to work well. Canha's signed until 2025. You still have Eduardo Escobar on the roster. I mean, I know Correa is going to play third, but you signed the same position. Where, all right, fine. I look at the bullpen. You spent a lot of money on Diaz. You re-signed Ottavino. They went out and they got Dave Robertson. They traded for Brooks Raley. That's all cool and good. But where's the depth? What happens if one of those guys gets hurt? Allocate your resources elsewhere. Don't spend 12 years on this guy.
And by the way, Tom, Carlos Correa is a guy that has bad injury history. He only plays about 110 games a season. So
we probably will see Brett Baty a little bit at third base this season, if I had to guess. He's a great hitter, good contact hitter. He's great for the Houston Astros. He's former teammates with Justin Verlander. Great to see him back. But, Cohen spent over $800 million on players this offseason. Since he's been with the Mets, he spent about 3.6% of his net worth in 3 years. It's a problem. He's the richest owner in MLB history, and he'll field the team next year with the largest payroll in MLB history. And, somehow people are like, oh, well, when you got the Verlander and Scherzer contracts coming up, Escobar, McCann, I don't know how you could re-sign both McNeil and Alonso. I don't know how it could be done. I think Alonso gets re-signed. I think McNeil walks and goes elsewhere. I don't think he's going to stick around once his contract is up. I know they have to avoid arbitration again somehow.
That's the other thing. He's just letting all these freaking players walk. We could get people for him.
DeGrom left for a reason.
Well,
All these
yes,
Mets
yes.
fans are saying like, "Oh, like screw the." If you're saying screw Jacob DeGrom for leaving, there's something mentally wrong with you. There really is. DeGrom got out of a shitty situation. He knew where this was going. This was going haywire. This is great right now for the next 3 years, but you have to build your team. Get these younger guys some more time. I like the Kadai Senga signing. I like that they brought in Jose Quintana, to be a guy. But what about Tyler McGill? Let him develop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let him develop. Let Brett Baty play. Let Francisco Alvarez play. Let those young kids play. Their homegrown talent right now is Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, and Brandon Nimmo as far as the starting lineup goes. Now, I get it. There's a DH position, so they could allocate Brett Baty to DH for some games. They still have some good players, but did I just see that Correa's contract expires about a year before Bobby Bonilla's?
Yep.
That's funny. That's very, very funny. I do think there's a good shot the Mets win the NL East this year, but I don't know about a World Series. I don't know if this gets them over the hump of beating the Dodgers or possibly even the Braves in the playoffs, because you can't guarantee everyone's going to be healthy at that time. And the problem is, you're going to – a lot of these good teams are in the NL East, and they'll be seeing the Mets all year long, I don't know what your take is on that, Noah, but again, I'm not the biggest fan of this signing. I thought the Mets were fine without him. I would rather let the young talent grow.
Right. I mean, it's tough to say because, I throw it back to the Dodgers who, did the same thing pretty much last year. They spent heavily, biggest payroll, whatever. They won, 111 games in the regular season. They looked like the best team in, MLB. People said, oh, they won the World Series. What happened? They played a team that was behind them in their division, and it wasn't even close. They lost in 4 games to the Padres. Could something like that happen to the Mets? I mean, I definitely think this is a team that could win 100, 105 games with the roster they have, how much they're paying. Maybe win the NL East. I could definitely see that as well. But, like they said, if they face up against a team like the Braves or maybe even the Cardinals, who knows? We'll see what they do this year. The Phillies, they were just in the World Series as well. I mean, the National League has a lot of really good teams. So I don't think this is a signing that's just like, oh, the Mets are easily going to win the World Series. I think they can contend for it. However, like I said, I think it hamstrings them. They need to win in the next 2 or 3 years or it's just going to fall apart instantly.
Yeah. I mean, look, and don't get me wrong. I think the Mets are going to be a better team than they were last year as far as getting further. I think they'll get past the wild card round this year. But again, you're looking to get this team over the hump and build long-term success. I don't want a 2 to 3 year window with these guys because now you have Lindor and Correa signed for an eternity. You have Nimmo signed for a very long time. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They spent a lot of money at Justin Verlander. Granted, it was a panic move after DeGrom left, in my opinion. I feel like some Mets fans are more excited for Kate Upton than Justin Verlander.
I can't blame them.
Shout out to my girlfriend, Deanna Karen, saying, let's go Mets with the orange and blue hearts. Deanna, hopefully by the end of 2023, the Hall of Fame room will only be 44% empty. That is my goal. But, I'm excited for the season. I hope the Mets do very well. But, man.
The Mets still have Vogelback on their team, right?
They do. Danny Donuts.
Danny Donuts? All right. That's Kyle's favorite player on the Mets, so.
Yeah. I don't blame him for that. Noah, James, any final thoughts here before we sign off tonight? We went 2 full hours, just like old times, James. Just like old times back in the studio.